How's it going, folks? Jeff Benjamin with 9 to 5 Mac. This is iOS 18.2, and it is arguably the biggest iOS release ever outside of WWDC releases. It includes many new Apple Intelligence features, including ChatGPT integration, image playgrounds, Genmoji, and more. In this video, we walk through it all. Hit that thumbs up button if you like what you see. How's it going, folks? Jeff Benjamin with the 9 to 5 Mac. So this is iOS 18.2 Developer Beta 1, and it comes with tons of new features and changes. We're going to walk through those right now. So first of all, you're going to see here when you first load up 18.2 Beta 1, you're going to see an advertisement for visual intelligence with camera control. So basically you click and hold the camera control button on your iPhone 16 to learn about things around you. And that can use either Google search or ChatGPT, which we'll show you here in just a second. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and go to settings. We're just going to skip the build number and all that. Let's just get right into it because this is going to be a long one. But as you can see, Apple Intelligence and Siri, you can see the download is commencing there. And as we scroll down, you'll see the heading that says Extend Apple Intelligence and Siri, and you'll see ChatGPT right below that. So once you tap on ChatGPT, you'll see this screen, which allows you to set it up. And this extends Siri in a major way. So as you can see, it integrates directly with Siri, so you get more in-depth Siri answers and insight about photos and documents. You can compose text and writing tools, create text or images from just a description. And if you're a ChatGPT Plus user, you can log in with your paid account, which gives you access to even more features. Now, privacy is obviously a big thing here, and Apple lays it out for us. So using ChatGPT without an account allows you to use it anonymously, and it won't be used to train ChatGPT's model. And Apple also emphasizes that you're in control. You can turn off ChatGPT at any time if you wish to, and you can set it up to confirm every single ChatGPT request, although you can disable that. So let's test it. I have a liter of flour, 2 eggs, and an avocado. What can I make with this? So when Siri senses that it cannot handle the request itself, then you can use ChatGPT. You'll be prompted automatically. You tap Use ChatGPT, and it's going to go out and query ChatGPT. And here's your result. So a full-on recipe for what sounds pretty disgusting if you ask me, but you can copy that recipe, paste it elsewhere, whatever the case may be. Siri could never do something like that. Tell me a bedtime story about a young scientist named Jeff who discovers a brand new element on the periodic table. So again, Siri recognizes, hey, I can't do anything with that. Do you want to use ChatGPT? So we'll just give it a second, and there you go. There is your bedtime story. Once upon a time, in a quaint little town surrounded by forests and rivers, there was a young scientist named Jeff, blah, 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 blah. One starry night, fueled by the faint glow of his desk lamp, Jeff embarked on an exciting experiment. After days of meticulous testing and analysis, Jeff discovered an entirely new element not found in any textbook. From then on, Jeff's nights were filled with dreams of uncharted territories and hidden secrets beneath the stars. Wow, that is some story. So now, as I stated before, by default, you have to confirm every ChatGPT request, but you can turn that off if you want to. But importantly, Siri will always ask for permission before sending a file or an image to ChatGPT, even with that disabled. Tell me a fictional story about Abraham Lincoln and Nintendo. Did I really need to say fictional? All right, so it's working. And there you go. Once upon a time in a peculiar something, something, something. Well, there's a whole story about Abraham Lincoln and Nintendo, which, you know, obviously Nintendo's an old company, but I don't think they're that old. But yeah, interesting story nonetheless. You can just come up with basically anything like this, just as ridiculous as you want to make it. It's pretty cool. Now, like I was saying, you can also log in with a paid account if you wish to do so, which I have done so right here. I have ChatGPT Plus. I've logged in with that account, and that gives you the benefit of being able to log your request. And eventually, I believe you should be able to change the model that's being used as well. Here you can see we're using ChatGPT 4o. But again, you can use ChatGPT for free anonymously. All right, let's try something different. Show me an image of a rubber duck that's in the mob using ChatGPT. So anytime I say using ChatGPT, it will automatically default to that, just to FYI. All right, A rubber duck that's in the mob. There you go. So here's an image of a rubber duck dressed as a mobster in a smoky 1920s style room. Interesting. Okay. But you can also do this. ChatGPT. What is this? So in this case, it sends a screenshot of your screen to ChatGPT for analysis. All right. So there we go. There's the Nintendo Entertainment System. When did this come out in the United States? So you can ask follow-up questions like that. It came out in 1985. What was the most popular game at the time? See if we can stump it. Ah, yeah, no Super Mario Brothers for sure, released in 1985. All right, how about this? What was its biggest competitor? In this case, I guess you could say it's the Sega Master System, arguably, but really there was no real competitor to the NES at that time. Now you can also query images from your photo library. What is this? So it takes a screenshot of that photo, and remember, it will always prompt you before sending to ChatGPT, so you'll always have to tap send to confirm in that case. So this image shows a PlayStation 5 controller. How much does one of these cost? And we'll see. $69.99. Okay, so you're probably starting to really understand why this is so incredibly useful. What is this? And again, send the screenshot, and it'll tell me this is a screenshot of the iPhone Alarm app interface. I mean, that's super specific stuff that we have there. But you can also do the same thing with just a live photo like this. So I'm gonna long press. What is this? So instead of sending a screenshot, it actually just sends the photo directly to ChatGPT after you confirm. And it's not super specific here, but it does say it resembles Apple AirPods wireless charging case. So if you have an iPhone 16, you'll find the new visual intelligence feature via the camera control button, which Apple teased at its iPhone release event back in September. So this allows you to learn about objects and places around you, and it uses Google Search, Google Image Search, and ChatGPT. So when you tap the left little button, the little, looks like a quote, it's going to send the image to ChatGPT. If you tap on the right-hand button, which looks like that, little image, it's going to send it to Google for similar images. So it can kind of give you an analysis of what's going on. So it's searching for Google for what I just took a photo of, and it finds the exact little husky desk drawer right there. Now I can follow up with ChatGPT as well. See, it's working. Let's go say this modern home office setup features a minimalist desk arrangement equipped with this computer display, audio equipment, blah, blah, blah. So not super specific there. And I can follow up to say, where can I buy the desk? And submit that just to see what we get here. You can find a modern minimalist desk similar in design on retail platforms like Amazon, Wayfair, and All Modern. True, but it's not the exact desk. Is this top made of wood? And the top of the desk appears to have a wooden finish, giving it a natural and warm look typical of a modern minimalist desk. Really cool stuff that we have there. So now we're going to put our iPhone in the frame, our iPhone 16 Pro, search with Google, and you can see it finds that. But interestingly, it also is able to identify things like dates and times, and you can actually add events directly to your calendar. Now I'm going to query ChatGPT and see what it has to say. And we can see, it says this is an iPhone displaying the home screen with a variety of app icons organized neatly across it. Pretty cool. Okay, let's get some more details. What version of iOS is that? Let's see if we can find that. So based on the app icon layout and overall appearance, this iPhone is likely running iOS 17 or later. So what do you guys think about visual intelligence? Let me know down below in the comments. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's go back to settings. And now at the very top of the app section, you're going to see this new section for default apps. So you can manage default apps all from one place. So you can manage your default email app. You can do this with messaging. So that's a first. Being able to set a default messaging and phone app. Of course, you had call filtering. You could always set your browser and your email, but having phone and messaging, being able to set those default apps. So that was definitely something that has been spurred on by some of that EU regulation that's been in the news. Speaking of news, what else is new? Well, if you go into edit and go to customize and you go to Tinted, I'm going to switch up and add some tint to our home screen app icons. You're going to notice a change in settings now. It's going to basically relate that same look here in the apps section of the settings app. So you get those tinted icons there as well, which is now back to Apple Intelligence. The writing tools gets updated in a couple of significant ways. So first of all, you have the compose option at the bottom. So this allows you basically to just describe what you want to write and ChatGPT will handle the rest. So an invitation to a party to celebrate the existence of rubber ducks, because why not? Why wouldn't you want to go to a party like that? So let's go ahead and submit the query. And there you go. Invitation to the spectacle of splendid rubber ducks. And as you can see there, you get the date, time. You are cordially invited to a whimsical celebration in honor of one of our most overlooked companions of joy, the rubber duck. RSVP, the dress code, all that. Activities will include a rubber duck race, best dressed duck competition, splash zone, and ducky games. I'm telling you, if that was real, I would have been done RSVP'd, believe me. Okay, so suggested by ChatGPT, so you can do other things, suggest a duck themed dress code. And if we scroll down a little bit, you'll see the dress code. Dive into your creativity with outfits inspired by our feathery friends. Suggestions include yellow attire, duck theme accessories, etc. And of course, you can add more suggestions here and modify what you have. You can also rewrite if you wish. But I'm going to be adding some more specific considerations for the costumes. So waterproof gear for those who dare to splash, duck feet and slippers. You gotta love it. But it doesn't stop there with Apple Intelligence and writing tools. So I have this piece of text asking you to subscribe to our channel. So I'm going to say, make it sound hateful. Come on, Jeff. Make it sound sarcastic. How about that? Make it sound sarcastic. So, oh, I'm sure everyone's just dying to have a comment. And who wouldn't want a thumbs up and subscribe to such riveting content? Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Okay, so now let's talk about generative AI images. So we're going to launch playgrounds, image creation. So request early access to share feedback and help improve image creation features. So there are 3 basic image creation features here. There's image playground, which allows you to describe an image and create it with suggested themes. There's Genmoji, which is basically creating custom emoji / stickers. And there's image wand, which transforms a rough sketch into something more. So you have early access. I'm going to request it, tap done. And then after a while, it may take a little while, but eventually you'll get a notification. First of all, it's going to say downloading support, but you'll get a notification saying that the download's complete and it's ready to use. So there we go. So now let's launch Playground. And you can see it here. So use your imagination, customize your image with suggested themes, costumes, accessories, and more. Personalize an image, choose someone you know as a starting point, and add details like skin tone, and then try different combinations, experiment with new environments, etc. So basically, it is a playground. So you can use suggestions like these various themes or costumes or accessories or places. And then you can actually add people in there as well. For instance, there you can see my photo, Jeff. Just add that from suggestions. You can only add one person at a time, but then you can add in various accessories like the beanie. And then I have themes like Starry Night. And you can continue. It's basically like a mixing bowl. You just mix things in and see what you end up with there. And I'm actually pretty shocked at how accurate that Genmoji is. I mean, I don't know if I should be offended or what, but man, that I have to say, that looks like me for sure. It's kind of wild. It's kind of weird. It's very weird, actually, but also pretty cool. Like you can just go through and it will come up with anything based off these ingredients. Basically, think of those as ingredients in your mixing bowl, and you're coming up with this image in an animation style. You can switch between that and an illustration style, which is more like a drawn image. This is more of a 3D computer generated image. But there's those two types of styles you can choose from. But here, if I tap this little button there, I can choose a person. So if I don't want to choose myself, I can choose somebody else, or I can tap appearances and basically just set my parameters for things like skin tone. But here you see choose a starting point. So I based it off this image of mine, and then I just simply choose a starting point and it will offer these suggestions. So if I choose that one, then I can add in those themes and other accessories and stuff like that to round out the image. And you can also subtract items from your mixing bowl, if you will, until you come up with a recipe that looks good to you. So once you do, you just tap done. You can save as a new image. It'll save it to your image library within the image playground, and you can access all your images that you create from here and then save them, or, send them to other apps or whatever the case may be. Here's what I was talking about earlier, though. You can choose different styles. So you have an animation style or an illustration style that you can choose from. And here's the illustration style. This is more like a hand-drawn illustration, but you can also just outright suggest things via text input. So you can describe your image, a rubber duck, using a smartphone, send that on, and then it gives you the results just like that. And then you can add in additional ingredients like wearing a baseball cap or wearing a superhero outfit. There you go. So that is the generative image that you get from your recipe. Now, of course, you can also use Image Playground via messages. Notice though, when you tap that plus button, you get the whole list of items now. You don't have to go to more or anything like that. Interesting change. But as you can see here, same basic concept, creating your recipe, and then you can just add that directly to your message thread and send it on just like that. You see I sent on several. But now let me talk about Genmoji. So when you add an emoji, it's going to ask you if you would like to describe an emoji. So I'm doing so, rubber duck with the bow tie. And then I tap that button there, and then you see Genmoji. So this allows you to describe the Genmoji you want to create with a few words. You can personalize it and use it just like in a regular emoji, using tap backs and stickers and stuff like that. So here, rubber duck with the bow tie. I'm going to go ahead and add that. And you can see it there, send it. That is my Genmoji, and you can see it's added to your library. So you just tap it to add just like that, and it will sync across your devices. So you can even use tapbacks and use your new Genmoji as an emoji tapback, which is a new feature in iOS 18, of course. And you can use Genmoji in other apps like Notes, or you can just create a new Genmoji within other apps. So I'm going to say a duck with whiskers. So sending that just like that. But you can also gain inspiration from actual people when you create your Genmoji. So I'm going to say picture of Jeff. And now I can choose a person. So tap choose a person and then tap the image. And there I am. So I can go through and just choose the one I like, or I can choose another photo, but then I say wearing a top hat. So there you go. So there is my Genmoji of me wearing a top hat. I send that on, and again, it's added to my list of emoji. And even here on iOS 18.1, if I go to emoji details, I can actually download that and save that to my library and then use it even on a device running iOS 18.1. So you can see there. There's my Genmoji. Just like that. Now the final image creation feature in 18.2 is this, image wand. So you have some text, you just draw a circle using the wand tool, and then you can see it automatically populates it with your text that serves as the query for the image generation. So you can just easily generate an image like that based on your note. But if I want to take it a step further, I can actually draw something. So that looks like a TV. I'm going to just circle it and then give it a little bit more of a description. So describe an image. So I'm just going to put television, send it on through. You can see it's using both. So my little rudimentary image and the word television, and it creates its own image based on that. Really cool stuff. So let's try it again. I'm going to draw a house and circle it. There you go. Just describe it. Made of stone. So it knows that it's a house and it makes it of stone. Just like that. Or I could say made of brick with green grass and submit it like that. Not the best looking house, but you get the point. Now let's switch gears. Let's talk about Mail, because the Mail app got its full-on redesign that features these handy little categories at the top. You see the primary category there. So if I tap the ellipsis and I tap about categories, you can see what they're all about. So the primary is going to be messages that matter most. And it tells you even how many you received in the last week. You have transactions, you have updates and promotions. So if I tap the ellipsis again, I can switch between the categories view and the list view just like that if I wanted just a more traditional look. But categories is cool because you can easily switch between those. Now I don't have any high priority messages just yet, so you don't really see any, but you can hide or show your priority messages just by tapping that option. Now let's switch to another category. So transactions. So these are things like receipts and orders and deliveries. These are all listed right there so you can easily find them. And what's really cool is that if you tap on this little button here, you can actually view all the related transactions here. So you can see three transactions, 3 messages, and 3 news. So sometimes there will be multiple transactions on a single email, etc. So there you go. So if we tap the little ellipses there, I can change the category that these belong to, and I can do so manually, but we'll keep it on automatic. It seems to be doing a pretty good job there. So let's go back. Now, if I try to delete that message, it will prompt you to delete all of the messages within that thread. Now let's choose a different category. So we have transactions. Let's go up to this one right here, which is updates. So this is going to be things like subscriptions, news, social stuff, newsletters, alerts, all that jazz. And then finally, we have promotions. So this is going to be things that are from businesses and organizations you may recognize, like QNAP and Telestream. All right, so let's go back to primary. Now notice what happens if you tap the category again. That allows you to view all your mail uncategorized. So you can show all messages from every category listed together for quick reference. So you can do that on any of those categories. Just tap it and it quickly switches over to all mail, which is super handy. All right, now another thing you may have noticed is show contact photos. So you now have contact photos. You can see I just hit it there. And you now have this right within the Mail app. So a lot of other Mail apps have that feature. It's nice to have it in the stock Mail app. Now, another new thing you'll find in iOS 18.2 is a Type to Siri shortcut in Control Center. So you can just simply find that there and you can add it to your Control Center. Of course, you can add it to your action button if you want to do that, or you can add that shortcut to your lock screen as well. Now, here's a really interesting one. If you enable developer mode by connecting to Xcode and then going into security and privacy and enabling developer mode, which is right here, if you do that, then you're going to be able to install, or at least attempt to install, a third-party app store via Sideloading. So it's going to say app installation. You don't have permission for Epic Games. Would you like to go ahead and enable this? Well, you just tap OK, go to settings, and then here you'll see allow apps from Epic Games Incorporated. So you can see you attempted to install Epic Games Store from epicgames.com. You see app installation. By allowing this developer, you will be able to directly install their apps on your phone from the web. Your data, any installed apps will be managed by the developer, and unavailable features like App Store accounts, stored payment, etc. So I went ahead and installed that, as you can see here. So install app marketplace, just go ahead and tap. So it verifies with Face ID. So you can see it's actually installing right now. However, it doesn't actually complete the installation. You can't actually launch it. So it's like it's sideloaded it, but it isn't signed, or it doesn't have permission to actually execute. So we're most of the way there, but not quite there just yet. And I don't know if this could have been a mistake that Apple enabled this, or it could be something that they plan to roll out in future updates for iOS 18.2. Now, here's something else that Apple teased at the WWDC event back in the summer. The ability to add a second layer to a voice memo. So say you have some music on that first layer, well, you can overlay that just by tapping the little plus sign and sing along to the beat on the second layer, and then you can separate those layers and it will keep that second layer without the music in the background, so you can have sort of a reference track. Now, my singing is ridiculously awful, but this could be handy for legit singer-songwriters. So you can see how both tracks are there. First one. Oops, let me go back here. Then the second one. Right? And then you can go up to the ellipsis and separate those tracks, separate layers. So we're going to tap on that, and it'll create those separate layers for you so you can save your recordings. And you see both layers, but you also see that this is a layered track. You get the little icon indicating that. So if I tap the second layer, it'll just be my ridiculous humming along with the track, but the track itself is mostly silence. You can barely hear it. Another new feature that you'll find if you go to settings and you go to sound and haptics is the volume limit for the built-in speaker, which is interesting. So you can limit the maximum volume for the built-in speaker. It doesn't apply to phone calls, FaceTime calls, emergency calls and alerts, ringtones and stuff like that. But you can set a maximum limit. Okay, so it's turned all the way up here, but it's limited to 60%. So you can set the setting between 20% and 90%. So if you set it to 90% and you turn all the way up, obviously it's pretty loud, right? But if you set it all the way down to 20%, it will automatically adjust that volume. So it's even at maximum, it's only 20% loud, right? And if we go back up to 90, you'll just have to readjust the volume because it obviously turned it back down to its relative volume. So if we go back to settings, you're going to find another new feature. Under save passwords, you can now set it to not ask when signing in or ask when signing in. So if you don't want it to ask when signing in to save your password, you can do that. And in 18.2 beta 1, you can now import and export your website and history data. Obviously, up until now, you've been able to clear your history, but now you can export that history. So you export your browsing data, and that includes things like bookmarks, history, extensions, credit cards, and passwords. But the thing is, this is all saved in plain text to iCloud Drive. So that's going to be visible to anyone who has access to the exported file. So obviously you want to use caution with that, but then you can go ahead and select which profiles you want to associate with this export. You can choose one or all, and then you can choose the types of items you want to include in the export. So in this case, I think I'm just going to include my history. How about that? So I'll uncheck everything else, save to downloads. So it's going to save to my downloads folder in my iCloud Drive. It says export successful. And then if you want to import that, you can do so. You just choose the file, point it to your export, and there you go right there. You just import to Safari and it imports just like that. Super simple. And you can see it also prompts you to delete that export so it's not out there sitting in plain text for security. And lastly, circling back to the image playgrounds, in the Shortcuts app, you have a new shortcut action to generate an image. It doesn't seem to be working just yet, but you can see the definite potential here. So you have image name, you have prompt, you have the image, you have the output style. So this could be super powerful. You can see how you could automate that. Once it is working, it doesn't appear to be working just yet, but I could see some very interesting shortcuts using this. So a mobster duck, no, doesn't work. That's okay. It's just a beta after all. So ladies and gentlemen, if you appreciate this video, please thumbs up and be sure to check out these other videos as well. And be sure to subscribe for more videos from 9to5Mac. This is Jeff. See you later.